Hello again, everybody. My name is Luke, and I am the founder of Wave Consulting. I'm an ex Big Four consultant where I work for retail and consumer products for brands like Chipotle, Lululemon, and even Apple. Now I'm the founder of Wave Consulting, where we look to bring those same strategies used for Fortune 500 companies to small and medium sized businesses. Today, in this episode of the Party Wave podcast, we're going to be circling back to landing pages. This is the topic we did our first ever podcast on, I believe, and we're going to circle back to it, talk about creating effective ones, but not quite getting stuck on a little bit more of the boring information like structure. We're going to be talking about it from a specific point of view of paid ads and the role it plays in your paid ad, right? A lot of times I'll save it for when we get into it, but basically a lot of times paid ads are linking to a web page where the conversion rate could easily be boosted by linking to a landing page. So yeah, let's start off kind of with a high level overview of the importance of landing pages and outside of the context of paid ads, right? A landing page, what is it? It's a standalone web page, right? So it's just one page. It's not your website. It's just a web page. It's created specifically for marketing or advertising a certain thing, right? You have a product, you have a service. In our most recent webinar, we did a landing page for a roofing company who would have ideally also had a website. But this landing page was specifically for a promotion they were running where they did a 30-day turnaround project. And obviously, I know nothing about roofing, so that might not be realistic with everything with your experience with roofing. Anyways, that's what a landing page is. It's just a single page that stands alone from the rest of your website. That's to be caveated with the fact that you don't need a website to have a landing page. A landing page can serve as your website in some circumstances, but for the most part, 100% of the clients we work with are also going to have a website and are going to be running paid ads. And instead of running paid ads to their landing page or their website, we're going to create them a new landing page that converts higher. Speaking of converting, that's the whole point of a landing page. In our last podcast, we talked about different types of landing pages, and while that's still true, landing pages still serve the only purpose of converting visitors into leads or customers if you're selling something on the landing page. And you do so by focusing on that single objective, right, of your marketing advertising campaign. Um, yeah. And so landing pages, like I said in a lot of examples, you can just be linking to normal websites or linking directly to a calendar schedule, but landing pages really will boost that conversion rate. You might say, well, if I'm here in the ad and this is what I want the person to do to convert, why put anything in between there, right? And while that's true, I totally see where you're coming from. There's a time and place for that, right? Where you're like re-engaging existing customers, but in reality, when you're running an ad, they don't know who you are for the most part, and obviously you would want them to see your ad multiple times. And even if you explain in the ad what you're doing, you want to put a landing page in between, right? So they're just a visitor watching your ad, and you want them to be a customer and or lead. And so by being a lead, they would book a meeting, they would buy a product. And so in between, buying a product is complicated because the landing page can be this as well. And so we'll split that up in just a second. So we want to put the landing page in between because they convert higher than just linking right to the resource or right to the event. So, yeah, and when I say put it in between, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean the landing page can't include the conversion mechanism. So, for example, if you have an event that you are, or if you have a newsletter, very popular use case. If you have a newsletter and you're running an ad to get newsletter subscribes, right? Instead of linking to your newsletter page or directly to your website page, where you have a newsletter sign up, that's going to convert super low, right? Or you link right to just a form where they input their email, like on Facebook, an instant form, instead of just doing one of those. you instead link to a landing page where they can sign up for the newsletter. So that landing page would ideally be like 10 to 15 sections long. That might be a little bit overkill. But depending on the popularity and the information available around your newsletter, you want to create a landing page. You give a lot of information, overcome all the objections that the newsletter sign up person could have on that landing page, and that increases conversions. Circling back to a product for like e-commerce brands, or if you're looking to sell something online, e-commerce pretty much meaning you sell anything, right? This could be clothes, this could be cat food, this could be house floor plans, and so that's where it's like you have the ad and you have the product and you're putting something in between it. That needs to remain figurative and not really literal, right? Because the product page is one thing. You have your e-commerce store, you have the product page, you have the product list page where you have all your products, all your different types of cat food, all your different house floor plans, and so your ad. And so instead of linking right to the product page, which you can do, linking from the ad to a landing page for the product. So when you're running an ad, you might be, but not necessarily 100% of the time, you're not saying, here's this type of cat food, right? Because you have a bunch of different types of cat food, and you don't want to run ads for all of them necessarily all the time, but you can. And that's when you can go and tweak your product page at the same time. But for the sake of this example, we're going to say that that's not what you're doing. I lost my train of thought a little bit. Okay, so you put that landing page in between. The key for a landing page and the key for running that advertisement that you're hoping to convert, because a lot of times, if you're, I know I'm hitting a bunch of tangents, but a lot of the time, if you're linking right to a product, your goal with the ad campaign is more like engagement rather than leads or customers, which is perfectly fine. And it's just a different objective. But when we're talking about converting, landing pages are the best way to do so, because when you're converting, you're running ads with a specific purpose, right? The roofing company is not saying get a free quote in this ad, while that also does leads, etc. But they're running this ad for a 30-day turnaround special that they're doing. And so instead of linking right to the cat food that you always have, you're linking to a special deal for cat food. This is where you're doing, your CAC, your customer acquisition cost, and you're running that special. Your special could be 50% off of that cat food, and you're offering a special deal for that person if they buy right then on the landing page. I think you're getting the idea. So there's a great example of that landing page in the resource that we just added to the Wave Consulting website, actually. It's not cat food, but there is a cat food landing page in there, which is why it was a little bit top of mind for me. But there's a landing page in there that highlights exactly how you should do e-commerce 50% off special type of thing. So yeah, there's lots of designs in there. I picked 30 of the best ones I could find across the internet, from e-commerce to financial services. It's completely free. Just go grab that if you are setting up anything or are looking to see, what could be the benefit of a landing page. I hope that I articulated it correctly. Yeah. So take a little bit of a step back from the strategy and kind of circle back to what tools do you need to use, or should you use to create a landing page? There's a lot of tools that you can use. Most likely, whatever you use for a CRM or use for your website will let you do a landing page. And when I say let you do a landing page, it doesn't need to be a special thing, right? If it's WordPress, you just create a new page in WordPress. You just need to be able to modify that page, right? Like ideally, you'd want to be able to take the nav bar out. You'd want to be able to take out those global elements. So we'll touch on some of that in just a second. Let me tell you what we use to create landing pages and kind of websites for in total, right? So first we start with a tool called Relume, which I think that's RELUM. I think everybody should be using it. It has a free tier, and it's basically an AI design assistant So you're telling it the kind of site you are, the kind of business you are, the site you're looking for, and it creates a sitemap and a wireframe for you that's directly exportable to Figma and Webflow. Um, Two pretty popular tools. If you don't use Webflow, that's fine. You can go from Figma to something else, but it allows you to export those sitemaps and wireframes and kind of uses AI to help you figure out, what could I add to this page? They have a library of like 300 components. We're not affiliated with Reloom at all. This is just what we use to speed up that process, right? Instead of sitting around thinking, okay, let's have a features section. We want it to have three things. Do we want it to be an icon, header, subtitle, and then description, or just the subtitle and header, right? And so Reloom offers like all those components for you to be able to just pick and choose from and build out that sitemap and wireframe. The difference between sitemaps and wireframes, sitemaps are just words. You just have a list, a big long rectangle. You see this in our YouTube video or our webinar, but there's a list saying like nav bar, hero section, about section, feature section, testimonials, that kind of thing. So it generates those sitemaps, and you're able to edit it, tell it, actually, I want more sections, I want this section, and then it will also create the wireframes for you. And you can go into that wireframe, rip out the components you don't like, replace them with other components. And it actually does a first round of AI copy for your site. Obviously, it's not perfect copy, but it'll get the job done for starting. What I love about Reloom is that they export directly into Webflow, which is like a WordPress or a Wix, just a website builder. And so you can copy that wireframe and hit, export and import into Webflow, and you get the entire wireframe already built out in Webflow. So it's great for that, right? You already have all of your components already built there, and you can go from Reloom to Figma if you prefer. But instead of doing that, we like to go right to Webflow and then start designing in Webflow a lot of the time. If this isn't, a web design project, which a lot of landing pages won't be. They won't really be web design projects, as it's not worth putting that much investment into it, because there's a pretty defined standard as to what makes a good landing page. Obviously, the more design you can put into it, the better. But if you don't have those resources available, I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to add them in the process. Like we do web design, so we're able to just do it at the same time, make sure it all looks good. And so when you're exporting in a Webflow, that's when you customize the components, right? For example, the Reloom components, all the buttons and all the sections, all the boxes, the edges are squared. That's great. I don't really prefer the squared corners. So I'll go in there. The first thing I like to edit is I round off the corners. So yeah, that's where you make all your edits, right? So you got the whole wireframe, and instead of building it out from scratch in Webflow, which is A, really intimidating, and B, really time consuming, you have the full wireframe, and all you have to do is go in and tweak the stuff. They even give you a global style sheet, so you don't have to change every button. You change the one global button, and that reflects those changes across the whole site. And that's, that's a design system. Really nice. We have tutorials on YouTube about how to do that. So if you really look, if you, this sounds like a great idea, you can actually do both of those things for free. Export to it, create a design in Reloom and export into Webflow. You don't need to pay any money to do either one of those things. This is when the next tool I really want to mention, right? Because Webflow then takes care of the hosting and everything, so that we kind of live in there after that. But a tool for a lot of brands and companies that are a little on the smaller side, right? You might not have as much media, or you don't have a content backlog built up, which we also do. But we like to use Midjourney, which is an AI image generating tool. And I know before you're like, ew, gross, right? Really didn't like AI image generation tools because of the whole ChatGPT images. I thought they were 95 out of 100 times, 99 out of 100 times, horrible. If you weren't doing a logo in ChatGPT, it was horrendous. Like, it was so bad. And even the logos, the words were misspelled. Midjourney is based in a program called Discord, which also feels a little bit weird. It was hesitant for me to start using it, but the benefits of Midjourney, realistic images are really realistic. Words are spelled correctly far more often in Midjourney than they were in ChatGPT, and you're able to do more prompting based on like these are the images we have, these are the colors we have. Make sure the image you generate uses these images and these colors. So when the assets are passed off, when the assets are ready to be used in Webflow, whatever we don't have, we go into Midjourney to grab. Right? So if you're doing a 4th of July special and you want to do, soaring eagles and military jets in the background, but you want your company logo to be on them, or you want them to be your company's colors. You go into Midjourney and you tell it to generate that. You don't have to do any graphic design, and you can get an image that serves the purpose there, right? And so that's a really good generative AI tool. I know there's a lot of buzz about that. I don't recommend a lot of them, but I've been really pleased with it lately. Anyways, circling back to tools and what that looks like for the average company, a lot of times you have where your website is, a lot of time that's going to be WordPress, or some people are going to be using HubSpot for their CRM. If you're using HubSpot for your CRM, that's a great place to create landing pages. And so the two approaches I recommend, if you're not going to work with somebody like ourselves, and even if you are, integrating the tools into A, your existing website builder, or B, into your CRM, are the best options for creating a landing page because they're super easy and oftentimes require no more investment, right? You can go create a new page in WordPress, or have your marketing person, have the person who runs your WordPress talk to you for 30 minutes, let you know how to do that. Make sure you're able to edit those global components. Like I said, right, we want to be able to take out the nav bar or at least change it. That's just the example, right? 9 times out of 10, we are going to be doing that. But okay, so if you're doing it in WordPress, the reason I'm a little bit weirded out by it is that you have to, a lot of the times you're going to have to be building it from scratch in WordPress, which isn't horrible. It just might be a little bit time consuming. But one of the better parts is you get to ignore the SEO of WordPress pages, and you get to ignore the Yoast red bubbles for this, because when you're creating it in your website, you're not going to be linking it to anywhere on the page. It's a standalone, right? Remember from the beginning, it's standalone from the rest of your website. It's just a web page. So you're going to create it. It's going to have a URL, but you're not going to link to it from your nav bar or anywhere else. So it's going to be live, and it freaks out a lot of people actually. I like to develop them in public. And I say in public, just I publish them and don't edit them as a draft, right? So then more people can put eyes on them. If you don't have a million Webflow licenses or a million WordPress licenses, or you don't want to make somebody log in every time, just go ahead and publish it to like what we suggest is doing, like if your website domain is roofit.com, you would want to do lp.roofit.com. I really like that. It works well for Google Analytics and tracking across subdomains. And it also is user friendly. The user really can understand, right? But if you can't do that, doing roofit /lp/ that also works. I like that a lot. That's pretty clean. And that's where your landing page lives at. So if you're doing a 30-day promotion, it would look like lp.roofit.com/30 days, or you could do roofit.com/lp/30 days. I like those two options the best. And so that URL will be public for everybody to see, but you're not using it anywhere, so there's no harm, right? Even if your website's even if your website's getting a bunch of traffic, I like to develop it in public so that people can see on your team for the most part. And the same thing is true for integrating in your CRM. And there's a huge plus for doing so, is that if you're working out of HubSpot and you're running marketing campaigns through there, if you build your landing page in HubSpot, connect the domains, then you're able to, so your CRM is in HubSpot. That's where you do your marketing campaigns. If you build your landing page in HubSpot by connecting the domains and are able to deploy that at the same domain your website lives at, or even a subdomain, that would be excellent, because then you can integrate those forms, those lead captures, right into HubSpot. And so when an action happens on your landing page, you get extra built-in tracking where the rest of your marketing lives. How great is that, right? Like, the only thing better than doing extra conversions and extra marketing is having those extra conversions and extra marketing right inside of where the rest of your data is. So the landing page tool in HubSpot is not to be scoffed at, right? You don't get to use the tools that we use to make landing pages, and I find myself feeling a little bit limited with the design capabilities of HubSpot. But if you're just looking to take a step into landing pages and see what it's really like, definitely give it a try, right? Build it into your CRM. I'm blanking on other CRMs that offer landing page tools, but take a look at yours, because most likely it does. I know ConvertKit offers one. Yeah, like I said, Webflow is a great option. You can connect it to subdomains. I think that is the best option. So, circling back a little bit to our second topic now, with the landing pages having the sole purpose of converting. The key elements that are going to convert on it for you. There's a great quote, and you've probably heard it elsewhere if this isn't the first video on landing pages that you're watching, or podcast, I guess. But there's a quote that says, I forget who says it, but there's a quote that goes, once you've written your headline for your page, you've spent 90 cents of your advertising dollar, right? Pretty much everybody that comes to your website is going to read that headline, but they're not always going to read everything else. So your headline is the biggest concern. There's a couple of scripts and processes that we go through to develop that headline, but it's really industry specific, whether you're in health and wellness or you're in e-commerce. The headline is going to have a different reason, right? It's going to have a different structure. But this is where you're going to spend most of your time, and this is where you're going to do most of your testing. Building a landing page is a great step in the right direction and is a great accomplishment. But once you build it, you're not done. Once you build it, that's when you need to test it. Obviously not right away, right? But A/B testing exists and is a huge submarket for marketing and landing pages and websites for a reason. And like I've said in other podcasts, the one strategy we use for A/B testing is changing one of three things every week, and that's it. The headline, the image above the fold, and the copy underneath the call to action. Those are the only three things you need to test. You're going to feel compelled to swap out sections, swap out components, exchange this features list for an extra testimonial section, change your testimonials cards to tweet cards. They look a little bit better. That is not going to really matter. What you landed on the first time is probably fine. And you can change if you really feel inclined to, but spending that time thinking about a new headline or a new image and organizing that new image creation is more worth your time than changing out those little things, right? You're going to get more ROI in terms of time and or money by testing and thinking about those things. If you spend all week thinking about a better image for your insurance landing page, that image change is either going to show you 100% something that you should not do, or is going to be a game changer in making your landing page convert higher. Instead of just changing those components around, changing the features, the testimonials, and not seeing any change. So in terms of actions to take on landing pages, think about headline, image above the fold, and copy below the CTA. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that is often like 3 check marks, or for newsletters, it's like underneath the input box is like, we'll never share your information with anyone. Changing that to something else has a lot of effect. So those are the only 3 things we'll A/B test after launching the landing page. If we're looking to change something else, we won't really do that. Yeah. So Headline is great. Hero section above the fold. I realized I didn't really explain. Above the fold is going to be when you land on that page, when you land on the landing page, it is what you can see on your screen. So if you're on a laptop or a computer, it's going to be, in that main, what you can see before you scroll. On your phone, the same thing. So above the fold looks different on different devices, and we can really utilize that. You fit a lot more on laptop screens than you do on phone screens. So it's something to think about, right? And phone screens are stacked, laptops are columns. So huge thing to think about. Also why I like Reloom, everything comes out of the box. Not reusable, but whatever the word is for it working on mobile and responsive. Everything comes out of the box responsive. So hero section above the fold, very strong. This is where you get to make a little bit of creative decision, right? Because normally it's headline, hero section. And hero section can be video, image, text here, or video, image, text here. It's still a hero section, right? A hero section, I like to distinguish it from the headline because the headline should be at the top of the page. Sometimes you're going to want to have an image above the page, and that's something that companies and brands can feel ultra passionate about. But yeah, I'm not a super huge fan. But at the end of the day, the first text is the headline, and that's the most important. So, like I said, it's worth distinguishing the headline and the hero section. They're two different things. You shouldn't actually repeat the headline in the hero section, funny enough, right? So, then we go into like features and benefits. This is a big, big, big umbrella of components or sections. You're going to highlight unique selling points like the features of whatever your newsletter is, what your product is. But it doesn't have to look like the classic 1, 2, 3 columns of things. It can look like different screenshots. It can look like different product images. It can look like brand history, brand qualifications, right? So your unique selling points, what makes your offer, is what you're going to put in the features and benefits section. Really wide umbrella, like I said. You can't really go wrong here. That's a complete lie. You can totally go wrong here. But remember, if people are looking at your features and benefits section, it's because the ad didn't do the job. So you're going to want to put them away here, right? These are the stragglers, and you really want the stragglers, while you want to keep them on as social proof if they're not interested, you almost want to have a go big or go home approach to the features and benefits section. It's worth taking a little bit of risk, right? Because you're either going to change their mind in one direction or the other. And most likely, if they're on your landing page, they're not going to leave your landing page hating you because you're not including your 1-star reviews on your landing page. If they want to hate you, they'll go somewhere else and figure out that they hate you then, but they're not going to hate you on your landing page. So either sell them or burn it, I think, for features and benefits sections. And what I mean by that is really don't go mellow and do like the 1, 2, 3 columns with an icon. I mean, you can, but if you're going to do something like that, let it take up a little bit of space. I mean, you want to do interactive elements. If you're doing a weight loss program, you can do like a slider that shows, where they're at, where they could be after the 15 weeks or whatnot. I don't know anything about fitness programs, but yeah, interactive elements, engaging images, and experimental and exciting copy. You're really going to want to take a stab here. Social proof, huge. You really can't go wrong. A fun trend to note is a lot of landing pages I would not be a part of, but a lot of landing pages will just have infinite scroll pretty much of social proof. If their community is big enough, they'll just, which you should be doing if you're a service-based business, you should be getting Google reviews, you should be taking images of your work, you should be getting shout outs from people, getting pictures of your brand with people of note, right? So you should have plenty of it. Some of these companies on their landing pages, when they run out of stuff, they won't go for just a set length of landing page. They'll just social proof forever, right? They'll just throw it all in. and that's great. I mean, as an idea, like I said, I wouldn't really recommend that, but this is all to the point of more is more. Less is not more for social proof. More is more. So the more types of social proof you can include, and the more overall you can include, the better. So if you have Google reviews, product images, and shout outs with like people of note, include them all in different sections. Those are 3 sections you can get. I'm a big fan of longer form landing pages. You can't always do so, but I'm a big fan of longer form landing pages. I also think the call to actions are important. I'm a big fan of, and like those people with the social proof probably aren't the biggest fan of doing this, but I'm a big fan of sectioned out CTAs, right? Have the same CTA repeating throughout the landing page. So you have your headline, your hero, and your call to action most likely. And your call to action is also going to be in the hero. Then you go into like a FAQ. After the FAQ, throw that CTA in there, a big banner wide CTA across the page. I like that a lot. Obviously, it should look like the one at the top. So you're calling back to earlier in the landing page, as well as, keeping them scrolling. So then you go into social proof, another CTA after that. You go into some more testimonials, the same CTA after that. And always end the page. If you're going to have a stop at the end of the page, throw that CTA on there one last time. I like to include footers on landing pages just because a lot of times people are looking for other social media platforms. Like if they want to go hate you, or if they want to really find out if they should hate you, they're going to want to see your LinkedIn. They're going to want to see your Instagram. Just link to your normal website with your logo in the top of the page. That's it. Don't link to your website then at the bottom. That's not true. You can link to your website in the bottom. I like to basically keep the footer minimal, but make it like a nav bar at the bottom of the page. So your most important links at the bottom of the page, your logo again, and email me and your social icons over there. That's big. A lot of people just scroll to the bottom of the page looking for those social links. So you're going to want to make sure they're there when they get there, or they might be upset. But anyways, the CTA right above that footer at the very end of your page, you don't have any more components, any more sections. Throwing that CTA on there again is great. So we next on my list is to cover A/B testing. I kind of got ahead of myself and covered it already, but like I said, we're testing headlines, images, and I guess I guess we want to do CTAs as well. Although I think CTAs are a bit set in stone. When you're doing a 30-day turnaround, your CTA should be pretty decided ahead of time. So that's why I say we're testing headlines, images / media, or the copy below the CTA, because the CTA should be determined ahead of time. Those are the only 3 things we test, and we test them once a week. This is usually, we don't do this in the first month of the landing page, especially if you're doing Facebook ads. We like to give that stuff some time to figure itself out and really get in a groove. And then after the first month, then we'll look to A/B test every week. And then think about that. After the second month, you get 4 things that don't work, or you boosted your conversion rate with. And you got to sit on each decision for a week, so it was a good decision. You got to run it by everybody, get the necessary approvals, all that. Analyzing performance of landing pages. This is a topic I concern myself with a lot because I'm a worrier. So I'm not super concerned with the design. I know I can control that. But the arena I'm less familiar in is the paid ads arena, which is why we have my brother to do paid ads. He has the expertise in paid ads. But integrating it with your ad campaigns is important. So a lot of times you're already analyzing performance metrics, so you have a good understanding of this and how it works. But if you're switching platforms, like to a Webflow landing page instead of building it into your already website platform, then you want to make sure you're still analyzing those performance metrics. And you do that with like your Facebook pixel and Google Analytics. Making sure you're able to see the visitors and the actions they're taking on the page are still vital. Although you can kind of write off the SEO organic search landing for your landing page, unless you're doing like Google Ads type of thing. So in terms of tracking those metrics, right? What are we going to track? We're going to track probably 4 things, probably 3 main ones: conversion rate, bounce rate, and time on page. If you can get those 3, you're good, I think. Conversion rate can be tricky to track, but you're going to typically look to do that with your Facebook pixel. Check, what means conversion. Is it entering your email? Is it booking a call? Is it buying a product? You're going to want to integrate that and track that. Obviously, you might say you can go back and track it after, but there's no point in testing if you're not automatically collecting this data. Bounce rate, meaning people going to the page and leaving without really doing anything, in the time they spend on the page to help back up that bounce rate. Cool, sick. So like I said earlier, we did a landing page structure build out in 30 minutes or less webinar the other day. And we're going to keep doing that with different approaches to landing pages and different designs. But that webinar is live on YouTube and our website. So go ahead and get a look at that. You can actually download the webinar on our website for free if you really want. It's a big file. I will warn you ahead of time. It's like 180 megabytes. So give that a watch if you want to know what the process looks like for us, whether you're interested in working with us or if you want to copy our process. Please do. I think it's a great process, or I wouldn't be using it. But yeah, go give that a look. We talk about making the page fully responsive and tweaks to optimize the user experience and optimizing the landing page for conversion, because it's not a website, it's a landing page. So you're going to want to do different things. So yeah, go give that a listen. Neil Patel, I think is his name, says that the future of marketing is in conversion rate optimization. And he said that end of 2023, right? I know a lot of his stuff is from earlier on, but big name in marketing says that the future of marketing is in conversion rate optimization. So taking the time and investing the time to optimize your landing page, testing it, things like that, is totally worth the investment. And you will see after you start doing it, or that's why we offer the guarantee, right, for our service. That's why we say if our landing page doesn't beat yours by 10%, you get your full money back. Because a lot of the times it takes one extra conversion to make back the time and effort spent on a landing page. And you're not really ever just going to get one more conversion. So yeah, go watch that video if you want some of that. The whole template's available as well that we created in the video. So yeah, there's a couple other podcast episodes, but I'm looking forward to doing more on landing pages going forward and really dialing in that. Maybe a little bit of SEO as well, but really dialing in our landing page content is going to be important to us going forward. So there's going to be a lot more of this, and there's going to be more of those webinars. So yeah, thanks for watching if you stuck around. I hope any of this was helpful. I hope you learned something about a landing page today, and I hope that you go and create them for your ad campaigns and they see some success. So yeah, until next time, thanks for listening. Bye.